Hi everyone, been ages since I made a clip. This channel keeps getting shadow banned, so and I only really speak when I've got something to say. But it's nice to have a few words here and there now and then, particularly like if it separates you from the fucking fakery of this clown show world that we're in now. Just everything you see, you can't tell if it's fucking real. I'm real, by the way. This AI thing is just beyond control now. Like anything, it's got elements that you could use that are useful, but there's a fire and ice to it. I honestly think that the AI technology is just an expression of the legion of the demonic virus entity that has reared itself many times in many different forms. But I digress. What I wanted to say relates to when it's said that you have the power to co-create your experience here within this realm, right? So the Stoics talked about, many people have talked about how you can't necessarily change the outcome of things, but you have the power to choose how you respond and how you react. And that's a very, very true statement. So you get those that follow the script blindly with no question, live in fucking misery. And you get those that look at everything with discernment and choose to write their own script, as I've talked about many times before. But I saw a quote that I had actually seen written before in a text or a book or one of the writings of the late great Bruce Lee. But the clip was clearly manifested by AI. It was clearly faked, and those that don't have the ability to see or discern anything would fall for it like those that are falling for everything don't look at anything with discernment. But the what he was saying had been written, I had seen, and the message itself was a good message. It was a beautiful message. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? And what he said was, somebody asked him, how do you find peace? And he said, you don't find peace. You choose it by what you ignore, by what you release, by what you stop giving energy to. That's the shift. And that is sage advice. That's choosing what you do with what you're given. So right now, I'm in a beautiful place. I mean, in the distance you can hear traffic, but really all you can hear is birds. It's about 22 degrees, beautiful sunshine. The grass is thick green grass. And I've been walking the entire length of this field, barefoot, just to ground myself. And it's very calming. So rather than doom scroll on the phone, which is a choice, I choose to be here and impart this message. So peace is a choice to a very fair degree. You choose what you do with what you're given, right? So I wrote a book recently. I've written lots of books, but I wrote a book recently that I used the Amazon machine to get out there to the people. You got to use this system. Don't be controlled by it. Don't immerse yourself in it too much. And of course, Amazon giants, $1 trillion business that pays no tax, that has taken over all businesses. are cunts without a doubt, right? But nonetheless, you can use it so people can get their voice out in a message now with publishing via Amazon that plausibly they couldn't have done before without a lot of expense. So I said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've got to use it to your advantage, and avoid what is corruptive as best you can, right? But the point isn't that. The point is, the book that I put out is The Combative Use of Linguistics. So how you use language in regards to combative mindset. So if you have to deal with violence or aggression, then how you think in terms of your internal dialogue and communicate with yourself will affect how you feel, which will affect what you do and the results you get back. So that applies right across the board, as many have said before. So the words you use, the language you use, the way you communicate with yourself internally creates a picture in your head, a construct, which then elicits a feeling of associated feeling to how you feel about that construct. Well, if you give that your undivided attention, then moment to moment to moment, that becomes your experience, right? So when these poor sad people just follow every narrative that they're given, it creates a picture in their brain that makes them feel awful, and then they give it all of their attention, and then that's their experience moment to moment to moment, right? Hanging on to that. So they're following the script designed to keep you in fight flight response all the time, so you can't think with any critical thoughts, so that your immune system is flatlined, so that you get sick. And that's what they're feeding you, right? The archontic energy is feeding you that constantly to keep you in fight flight response, rather than feed and breed homeostasis, that natural thrival response. And that does come down to the way you respond to what you're given. So if you're fed a narrative or you're told something and you think about it, it creates a picture, which then you create associated feeling, and if you give that your undivided attention, that's your experience. But what people don't realise is that you have the power to change the fucking picture. So in this book I use the analogy of the magic lantern, right? So the magic lantern was the early precursor to projectors, so 1800s, early 1900s. The magic lantern was a constructive device whereby you put in a glass slide, colour painted slide, and then lit it with a gas lamp and looked through the lens, and that created an image. And the image from the slide could be anything. It could be a beautiful picture, beautiful scene, much like you see behind me. And if it was a beautiful picture, it would elicit a good feeling. And if you give it your attention, and in that moment or that time frame, that's your experience. Conversely, it could be a slide that's a heinous picture that makes you immediately feel terrible. And if you gave that your undivided attention, then that's your experience. But in terms of using the magic lantern, what makes it magic is you have the power to change the fucking slide, to change the picture. And that's what I mean when I say you choose what you do with what you're given. So you can look at all the bullshit with discernment, but you can look at all the rubbish that's going on, and the lies, and the misdirection, and the half-truths, and if you look with discernment, because eventually you awaken to enough a degree to recognise what resonates to you as potential truth and what doesn't immediately, then you can choose to give it your attention or not. So I'm not telling anyone to bury your head like an ostrich, of course not, no. But what I am telling you is that when you look at anything, look with discernment, right? So in the morning, for example, your phone, which is a scribe mirror containing AI, Satan is inside the phone, controlling you all. And nonetheless, we use it as a part of life, right? So I have a routine. In the morning, I get up and I do my checks. So I check my email, do whatever transactions I've got to do. I'll take about 10 minutes. And I look through. And of course, while you're doing that, you're scrolling, and you can see the way it's designed to make you anger. Right, so I made a little note of certain things that you see that pop up on a feed all the time, and it's the same all the time, right? So it's either the Daily Express or the Sun or the Evening News or the Daily Mirror as a headline, and it's another teen has been stabbed, another stabbing, another immigrant rapes a girl, another bunch of immigrants have arrived on your dollar, another inversion is being imposed upon you, another example of two-tier policing. And it's the same bollocks all the time, right? Now, that's not to say that none of that is going on. Of course that's going on, but it's been supplemented massively with AI. You know, the amount of false flags that are put on top of things that are indeed going on, just to maximise your outrage, right? And it's rage bait, clickbait. Now, as an example of what I'm saying, if you choose to look at that and scroll through that, rather than do something else that's beautiful with your time, such as where I am now, being in a place now with the sun on my face and the grass under my feet, listening to nature, going inward, you know, using discernment with my thoughts. You could not choose to do that and just choose to look at the clickbait all day and be outraged. And of course, you're in fight-flight response, you're agitated, everything about you is coming outward in a negative sense, because there's within, so without. But it's a choice. So like the quote of Bruce Lee when he says, you know, peace is a choice. You can choose what you look at, what you think about, what you give your attention to. And you can choose not. When you choose not, that's the shift. So your daily checks, you find out, this is what they're doing now, this is what's going on now, this is what they're trying to impose now. I look at it all so that I'm informed, let's say, right? And then I don't give it another fucking second of my precious attention. So you see the picture within the New Age movement, the spiritual age and movement. And again, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. A lot of it's bollocks and controlled narratives, but there's stuff in there. So, as an example, they show the idea that is depicted with many, many pictures. So, lines and lines of what depicts the Earth as, you know, the sphere, the globe. Regardless of whether it's a sphere, whether it's flat, wherever the fuck it is, whatever depicts the world we live in is shown in a massive line where there is just one after the other, after the other, after the other of interpretations of Earth. And that's followed by a line next to it, followed by lines of the same, and then the same, and then the same. And the idea of that is there are multiple parallel worlds going on at the same time within the same realm, right? So I made the clip about dark matter, where I said about, you know, there are multiple quantum plausible opportunities that are happening now, past, present and future at the same time. And as soon as one of them gets your focus and intention, the rest of them collapse. And then that becomes your reality, right? That's the idea. Here's where I'm going with this. Imagine a radio frequency on Radio 1. I wouldn't listen to any of that shit, right? But Radio 1. And you are listening to Radio 1 as you drive your car, and all of a sudden Radio 4 bleeds in to the channel. There's distortion, and now all of a sudden you hear another channel. Well, that's like one world bleeding into another. Previously you weren't aware that that world existed until there was interference and distortion. But it's actually existing at the same time, parallel to the world you're in, right? Work with me. So how does that relate? Well, if I have a neighbour, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that hangs on to every narrative, sad and miserable, waiting for the next war, the next pandemic, the next this, the next that. Everything doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. So scared that he doesn't look out behind a curtain, let alone step out of the house. That's my neighbour's experience by the pictures that he puts in his lantern and the feelings that they elicit and the attention that he gives it. Conversely, I live next door and I'm living in a very, very different world. My world's good, because right now I'm surrounded by beauty in nature and everything is good. I feel good. So moment to moment to moment right now, life is great. If any of that bullshit that is going on, because we have to coexist within this clown show world, right, comes my way at any time, well, I'll deal with it with the same attributes, intelligence, ability, capabilities that I have right now, when and if it comes. Like, fuck am I going to waste a moment of my precious energy worrying about something that's not here yet, creating pictures that create doom and gloom? Like, fuck am I going to waste a precious second of my energy wasting time on things that I've forgotten that I can't do anything about? I'm going to live in this moment right now, moment to moment to moment, and I'm going to focus on what I can do. So what can I do that's constructive right now, regardless of what that is? It's a building mindset, right? So in a sense, I'm choosing this moment to moment to moment what pictures I put in my lantern and what feelings that I allow it to elicit, and then whether or not it gets my attention, right? So I am choosing peace right now, and we all have the power to do that. So that's what they mean when they say you have the power to co-create your experience of this realm while you're here, and that is within your power. You can choose if somebody lands a narrative bomb on you, or choose to look at the BBC or the CNN or pick up a newspaper or look at the headline if you're still stupid enough to be doing those things. But you can choose doom and gloom, to doom scroll and look at those pictures and allow those pictures to change how you feel, as if you've got no control over it whatsoever. You can choose that. It's not peace, by the way. Or you can choose to not give it any energy whatsoever, to not give it any power. Because like you said, you don't find peace, you choose it. By what you ignore, by what you release, by what you stop giving your energy to, or choose to give your energy to, right? So that's a very powerful thing that's within your capability. Most of them don't talk about, and they don't want you to know, right? You are the co-creator of your own experience here. You choose to do what you do with what you're given. So if you don't do that, and you allow your mind just to be led by somebody else's imposition and will, somebody else's thoughts via the narrative that you've just looked at, scrolling, by the newspaper that you just read, by the conversation that you've just heard, or by the conversation that you've just taken in from somebody else imposing upon you, well, you choose what you do with that, right? Because there's a big difference between thinking and thoughts. And thoughts is those things imposed upon you that are not your thoughts, that you wouldn't choose, that you choose to give attention to, that make you feel like shit, take away your peace. Whereas thinking is critical thinking. So if you wake up agitated one day and your subconscious has been playing these programs on a loop, and you don't even realise, just like background noise, right? They're not your thoughts. So if you sat and analysed how you think, and you think, I'm agitated, and what am I thinking, and you recognise thoughts that you're thinking about, doom and gloom and this and that, you want to ask yourself, right, would you choose, would the authentic you choose to think those things, to dwell on those things? Well, the answer should be no, unless you like suffering. No, I wouldn't choose to think those things. Well, there's a good fucking chance that they're not your thoughts. They're just programs imposed upon you on a fucking loop that you don't stop and analyse. You don't give any discernment to. You don't add critical thinking to. And when you do that, you end up with a mind that's like a derelict bomb site. Just full of debris. And it will drag you towards your demise in one way or another, right? But once you start recognising that, and you choose what you do, and you choose what you think, you can start clearing the debris. You can detoxify the ground, the earth, and you can choose to plant beautiful flowers as thoughts, only good thoughts. So I remember years ago, Jeff Thompson said to me, you need a 20-stone doorman in your head that keeps out all the negative shit. And he was relating it to, you know, how you think about violence, which is what I started this conversation with, about the combative use of language, because it was relating to how you think about dealing with violence. You need to think about it in the right way if you want to be efficient, but that applies to everything. So if you have discernment, it's like a 20-stone doorman in your head that allows you to recognise, hold on a minute, no, I wouldn't choose to think that, or I choose not. And you can put your attention and intention somewhere else to create a different picture, elicit a different feeling, and then give that your focus. And then moment to moment to moment, that's your experience. Well, that can be peaceful. And that's a choice. Just food for thought. Peace. Just to elaborate slightly on what I said about AI. AI is a virus, is legion. So legion is a term that's been used to depict the virus that implements imposition, pain and suffering, right? So, and it's taken many, many forms. So if you believe that if you can believe his story, personally I don't believe that this simulation is any older than 500 years. But if you can believe ancient text and you look at the likes of ancient Egypt, you will see tyranny, control, despair. Then if you fast forward to ancient Rome, you will see tyranny, control, despair. And then into the Middle Ages of tyrannical kings and queens and monarchs, pain and despair. And then if you continue further into history, you will see the Nazi war machine, Nazi Germany, pain, despair, suffering. And then if you look at modern government controlling mind, again, impositions of suffering. Well, the tool or suit of choice now is AI. AI is legion. Just within the alternative media, what some think. But it's the same virus that thinks it's an antivirus, imposing upon humanity, imposing upon the beauty of the divine that we were supposed to be. Again, just food for thought.